Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. The devotees from Nova Scotia, Ottawa, and Ogdensburg sincerely thank the New York Ashrama for giving us the opportunity to join the 128th Advent Global Satsang. We are offering the following. Reading by Dr. Anil Sharma, the prayer manuscript written by Sri Bhakta Bhagavat. This will be followed by readings from the gems on self-enquiry, Who Am I? By Evelyn Saphir and Darlene Karamanos. Then Ramnath Kameshwaran will recite excerpts from Tirupallandu in praise of Bhagavan, composed by Sri Muruganar. Thereafter, Krishnan will present a short talk on Adiguru, Sri Dakshinamurti, and Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's relation to Adiguru. This will be followed by a few bhajans by Madhu Padmanabhan, Ramya Krishnan, and Krishnan Tirunallai. Ananta Padmanabhan will conclude our offering with the chanting of Devi Suktam. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
As we gather to celebrate the 128th anniversary of Sri Bhagavan's arrival at Arunachala, we would like to share this prayer manuscript that was written by Sri Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavata, the founder of Arunachala Ashram. From the moment Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi came into my heart, identified as the silent sage of the holy hill of the beacon light, I have not been the same. My life underwent such a volcanic change on the day I found myself face to face with my Master and Lord, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, that I wished to fly to his lotus feet on the southern slopes of the beacon light without the least delay. The mountains of doubt, desire, and delusion were pulverized at the mere sight of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, who has always been holding me by the hand, guiding my life, lighting my path, and leading me to his supreme abode in the innermost recesses of my heart, whence none ever returns to the cycle of births and deaths. At the very first sight I knew that he had claimed me as his own, and the long march to the self had ended at his lotus feet. All the puzzles, problems, and riddles of human life found their answer in the silent sage of the holy Arunachala mountain. My heart is ever throbbing and pulsating with the unceasing remembrance of his name, and there is nothing for me to do but to cling to his lotus feet. Abide in him and let his will be done. September 1st, Tuesday morning of 1896, is the gleaming, glowing, shining, and dazzling day for me, when the world was blessed and graced with the advent of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. Out of all the important and memorable days in the life of the silent sage Ramana, 1st September is the dazzling sun, which reminds me that I must abide in him without the least reservation, and let his will be done. How I like to pour out my heart in words and sentences so that I could express the innermost thoughts of my central being. The very scene of his advent at Arunachala melts me into the ocean of peace and happiness. The surging Ganga of Bhagavan Sri Arunachaleshwara Shiva Sri Ramana Sadguru is flowing unceasingly within the cavity of the lotus of my heart. The creation of movements and manifestations has become merged in him once and for all. The lifelong dream of taking up the staff of kindness and compassion has been fully realized, and there is nothing now else for me to do but to march along toward the shining peaks of the holy hill of the beacon light and cross the sea of transmigration with his name on the tip of my tongue. All paths to realization of the self have become merged in his direct path of self-inquiry of who am I. With every breath I call on him in the cave of my heart. From the early morning of September 1st, 1896, till 8:47 on Friday evening, April 14th, 1950, Bhagavan Sri Ramana tenanted the body of the holy hill of the beacon light, and never for a second did he stir out of the confines of the holy Arunachala mountain. He taught mostly by silence, like the primeval teacher Lord Dakshina Murti Sadashiva, and the doubts and delusions of all aspirants, searchers, seekers, devotees, and disciples were removed. Although Sri Bhagavan taught with words too, his most potent teaching has always been by silence, and he incarnated to simplify the path of practice for aspirants the world over for all time. He is the Self, the Supreme Self, shining, gleaming, and glowing as I am I in the cave of the heart. Anyone, anytime, and anywhere who will turn to him with firm faith and open heart will find to his or her surprise that Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi solves all the problems and drives away the darkness of ego and ignorance from the heart. All those who are thirsting for the eternal water of peace, bliss, and happiness will have to leave behind the creation of names and forms and turn within to the widest expanse of their inmost being and become liberated from the ever-rotating cycle of births and deaths. Sri Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says that the true and real happiness is within the heart, and everyone will have to rise above the limitations of the movement and manifestation and merge himself into the widest expanse of the self. So long as the mind is wandering in the phenomenal existence for peace and happiness, it is chasing shadows. It is certain that they will never be captured. Hence, the person shall have to turn his back on the forces of ego and ignorance and merge himself in the self, nothing but the self, and drink deeper and deeper in the nectar of being, consciousness, and bliss of the Supreme Self. My heart is throbbing and pulsating at the mere remembrance of the effulgent, radiant, resplendent, and shining Self, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Guru. How I would like to flood the 10 corners of the globe with the chanting and recitation of Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. Bhagavan is the indweller of my heart, and nothing is hidden from him. He knows full well that his loving son and humble servitor, Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavat, has all along been striving strenuously to unfurl his banner in the cavity of the lotus of his heart, and without his infinite grace and mercy, this mission will never be completed. Hence, there is no other option for me but to do my best to abide in the self, nothing but the self, in the cave of the lotus of my heart, and cross the sea of transmigration. Sri Bhagavan is the substratum behind all movements and manifestations in this world. Day and night, I am repeating his name with each and every exhalation and inhalation of my breath, and I become merged in the holy Arunachala hill. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
A reading from Gems from Bhagavan, selections by A. Devaraj Mudaliar, the start of Chapter 4, Who Am I? Inquiry. For all thoughts the source is the I thought. The mind will merge only by self-inquiry, who am I? The thought, who am I, will destroy all other thoughts and finally kill itself also. If other thoughts arise, without trying to complete them, one must inquire, to whom did this thought arise? What does it matter how many thoughts arise? As each thought arises, one must be watchful and ask, to whom is this thought occurring? The answer will be to me. If you inquire, who am I? The mind will return to its source or where it issued from. The thought which arose will also submerge. As you practice like this more and more, the power of the mind to remain at its source is increased. By means of a moderate quantity of sattvic or pure food, which is superior to all other rules and regulations of self-discipline, the sattvic or pure quality of the mind will grow, and self-inquiry will be helped. Though ancient and timeless sense attachments in the shape of vasanas or subtle tendencies may rise countless like the waves of the sea, they will all be destroyed as jhana progresses. Without giving any room for doubt whether it would at all be possible to eradicate all those vasanas and be the self alone, one must take hold ceaselessly of dhyana of the self. However great a sinner one may be, instead of lamenting, "I am a great sinner, how can I make any progress?" one must completely forget the fact of being a sinner and earnestly pursue meditation of self. He is then sure to succeed. If the ego is present, all else will also exist. If it is absent, all else will also vanish, as ego is all this. To inquire what this ego is to give up all attachment. Controlling speech and breath and diving deep within oneself as a man dives into water to recover something that has fallen there, one must find out the source whence the ego rises by means of keen insight. Inquiry, which constitutes the path of jnana, constitutes not in orally repeating I, but in searching by means of a deeply introverted mind wherefrom the I springs. To think I am not this, or I am that, may be of help in the inquiry, but cannot be the actual inquiry. When we quest within our mind, who am I, and reach the heart, I topples down, and immediately another entity will reveal itself proclaiming, I, even though it also emerges saying I, it does not connote the ego, but the one perfect existence. If we unceasingly investigate the form of the mind, we find there is no such thing as the mind. This is the direct path open to all. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Thoughts alone constitute the mind, and for all thoughts, the base or source is the I thought. I is the mind. If we go inward questing for the source of the I topples down. This is jnana inquiry. Where the I merges, another entity emerges as I of its own accord. That is the perfect self. There is no use removing doubts. If we clear one doubt, another arises, and there will be no end of doubts. All doubts will cease only when the doubter and one's source have been found. Seek for the source of the doubter, and you will find one is really non-existent. Doubter ceasing, doubts will cease. Reality being yourself, there is nothing for you to realize. All regard the unreal as real. What is required is that you give up regarding the unreal as real. The object of all meditation, dhyana or japa, is only that, to give up all thoughts regarding the non-self, to give up many thoughts and to hold on to one thought. The object of all sadhana is to make the mind one-pointed, to concentrate it on one thought and thus exclude our many thoughts. If we do this, eventually even the one thought will go and the mind will get extinguished in its source. When we inquire, who am I? The I investigated is the ego. It is that which makes vichara or inquiry also. The self has no vichara. That which makes the inquiry is the ego. The I about which the inquiry is made is also the ego. As a result of the inquiry, the ego ceases to exist, and only the self is found to exist. What is the best way of killing the ego? To each person, that way is best, which appears easiest or appeals the most. All the ways are equally good, as they lead to the same goal, which is the merging of the ego in the self. What the Bhakta calls surrender, the person who does vichara calls jnana. Both are trying to take the ego back to the source from which it sprang and to make it merge there. To ask the mind to kill itself is like making the thief the policeman. One will go with you and pretend to catch the thief, but nothing will be gained. So you must turn within and see from whence the mind rises, and then it will cease to exist. Breath and mind arise from the same source, and when one of them is controlled, the other is also controlled. As a matter of fact, the quest method, which is more correctly, whence am I, not merely who am I, we are not simply trying to eliminate, saying we are not the body nor the senses and so on, to reach what remains as the ultimate reality. But we are trying to find out whence the I thought or the ego arises within us. The method contains within it, though implicitly and not explicitly, the watching of the breath. When we watch wherefrom the I thought arises, we are necessarily watching the source of the breath also, as the I thought and the breath arise from the same source.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Today I am going to recite few verses from Tirupallandu by Muruganar Swamigal. Tiruchitrambalam. பல்லாண்டு ஆதி பராபரனுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு அந்த பரஸ்வரூபத்தின் படிவத்தால் பல்லாண்டு எங்களை ஆள வந்தானுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு எங்கோ பகவான் ரமணர்க்கு பல்லாண்டே பல்லாண்டு பாண்டிச் சுழியர் பதியர்க்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு சோனை பருப்பதத்தானுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு அடியோம் பழமுதல் வைப்பர்க்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்கு பல்லாண்டே பல்லாண்டு கீழொடு கோவணத்தானுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு தண்ட கமண்டலத்தானுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு கைச்சிறு கூரை கொண்டானுக்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்கு பல்லாண்டே பல்லாண்டு பூதி சிந்தூரத் திலகர்க்கு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு சத்தி சிவஸ்வரூபத்திற்கு பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு தன்மயப் பார்வையாம் தீர்த்தற்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு கண்ணார் பரம் காட்டுவானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு மோன உபதேசகனுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு இயல்பாய நிட்டாபரனுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு இருடி கணம் தொழும் பாதர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு அடியனை உய்யக் கொண்டானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு என் சிந்தை பரிமேல் அழகர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு மோகப் பரிசழிப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு அகத்தொழிற் சுப்ரதீபர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு சிந்தா குலம் தவிர்ப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு அகந்தை பதைப்பறுப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு முன்னிலை சுட்டறுப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு சாந்தி பதம் கொடுப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. சிவபோதம் கடந்தானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு மோனப் பதத்து உறைவானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு வேதப் பரம்பொருளானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு அடியர் பந்தம் பறிப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு முத்திப் பலம் கொடுப்பானுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு அநாதி மலமொத்த மெய்யர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நங்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு உபனிடப் பாரங்கதனுக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு ஒளிர் மேதா தட்சிணாமூர்த்திக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு பாவனாதீத சத்பாவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு அமுதூற்றும் பார்வையார்க்கு ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு அமுதியல் வாசகர்க்கு ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு அமுத சுரூபனுக்கு ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமணனுக்கு ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டே. பல்லாண்டு நம்கோ ரமண பகவர்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு நாயை பணிகொண்ட தெய்வப் பதத்துக்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு பாடுமிப் பாக்கியம் ஈந்தார்க்குப் பல்லாண்டு. பல்லாண்டு பாடுறும் பக்தர் குழாத்துக்குப் பல்லாண்டே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Adiguru Sri Dakshinamurti. The newsletter The Maharshi, Volume 25, Number 5, 2016, has very good articles on the connection between Sri Dakshinamurti and Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. I have referred to these articles in my talk. I will start with the Guru Parampara Stotra as revealed by Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni. Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. It means, I worship the lineage of sages, beginning with Sri Dakshinamurti, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle and Ramana Maharshi at the end. In the course of an examination by a court commission, Sri Bhagavan said, Shiva always remains in three forms. Number 1, as Parabrahman. Number 2, as Linga, and here it is Arunachala Hill. And number 3, as Siddha, Brahmarupa, Lingarupa or Siddharupa. Sri Dakshinamurti is considered as the Adi Guru, the primordial Guru, which is another form of Lord Shiva. It is believed that Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was the eternal Shiva Siddha manifesting in human form to guide sincere seekers on the path to liberation. Like Dakshinamurti, Bhagavan Ramana's most powerful teaching was given in silence. For those who could not receive it, he taught with gentle, direct words that expounded the ultimate state. In Ekatma Panchakam, verse 5, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi explains the significance of silence as follows. எப்போதும் உள்ளதோ ஏகான்மவத்துவே அப்போது அவ்வதுவை ஆதிகுரு செப்பாது செப்பித் தெரியுமா செய்தினரில் எவர் செப்பித் தெரிவிப்பர் செப்பகன் இப்போதோ. It means, when Adiguru, the Guru of all Gurus, Sri Dakshinamurti, revealed the truth of that oneself only through unbroken silence, the speechless speech, who can reveal it through spoken words? One wonders if the eternal Arunachala Shiva Siddha is same as Sri Dakshinamurti, the Adiguru as Bhagavan called him. To answer this, if Arunachala Shiva Siddha and Dakshinamurti and Ramana Maharshi in reality are one and the same, we have to look at the invocatory verse that Bhagavan wrote in his Tamil translation of Adi Shankara's Dakshinamurti Stotram. It appears Bhagavan experienced complete identification with not only Dakshinamurti but also Adi Shankaracharya. Mannuma Munivarar சாந்தி மன்னவே தென்முக மூர்த்தியாய் இகழ்ந்து மௌனமான் தென்னிலை இத்கதியத் துதிய தன்மயன் சொன்னவன் சங்கரன் தென்னுமென்னூலே. This means Shankara, who appeared as Dakshinamurti to grant peace to the great ascetics, who revealed his truth through silence and who expressed the nature of self in this hymn, abides in me. Here me refers to Ramana Maharshi. In one of the talks, Bhagavan said, Sri Shankara, being the avatar of Lord Shiva, was full of compassion for fallen beings. He wanted all of them to realize their blissful self. He could not reach them all with his silence. So he composed the Dakshinamurti Stotra in the form of a hymn so that people might read it and understand the truth. Even a greater confirmation regarding Sri Ramana as the primal Guru Sri Dakshinamurti can be found in what Sri Muruganar told Sadhu Om, who subsequently wrote about it in an article. Sri Bhagavan once told the following story to Sri Muruganar. When the four aged Sanakadi Rishis first saw the 16-year-old Dakshinamurti sitting under the banyan tree, they were at once attracted to him. Understanding him to be the real Sadguru, they prostrated before him, sat at his feet, and began to ask pertinent questions about the nature of reality and the means of attaining it. Because of the great compassion the young Dakshinamurti had for these rishis, he gave apt replies to each of their questions. As he answered each consecutive questions, further doubts arose in their minds and they asked more questions. This continued for about a year. Finally, Dakshinamurti understood that if he gave more answers to their questions, more doubts would arise in their minds, and there would be never an end to their ignorance, ajnana. Therefore, suppressing even the feeling of compassion and fatherly love, he merged himself into supreme silence. Because of their great maturity, which had been ripened to perfection through their year-long association with the Sadguru, as soon as Sri Dakshinamurti thus merged himself, they too automatically merged within into silence, the state of self. Wonderstruck on hearing this, Muruganar remarked, "There is no book where it is mentioned that Dakshinamurti ever spoke anything." So Bhagavan Ramana replied, "This is what actually happened." So Muruganar interprets that for Bhagavan to state this as a story is only a proof that Bhagavan is himself Dakshinamurti. I will conclude by chanting the famous Dhyana Shloka of Sri Dakshinamurti Stotram, which is essentially in praise of Sri Dakshinamurti. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varshishthante Vasadarshi Ganaihi Avritam Brahmanishthaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudramanandarupam Swatmaramam Muditavadanam Dakshinamurti Meede Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam Sakala Munijananam Jnanadataram Tribhuvana Gurumisham Dakshinamurti Devam Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami Chitram Vatataro Mule Vruddha Shishya Guroryuva Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shikshastu Chinna Samshayaha Nidhaye Sarva Vidhyanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Gurave Sarva Lokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Nama Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Gangadhara Hara Girija Shankara
Gangadhara Hara Girija Shankara
Gauri Manohara He Parameshwara
Gauri Manohara He Parameshwara Mrityunjaya Hara Uma Maheshwara
Sandipanishwara He Jagadishwara
Sandipanishwara He Jagadishwara
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya Namo
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya Namo
Gangadhara Hara Girija Shankara
Gangadhara Hara Girija Shankara
Gauri Manohara He Parameshwara
Gauri Manohara He Parameshwara
Mrityunjaya Hara Uma
Mrityunjaya Hara Uma Maheshwara
Sandipanishwara He Jagadishwara
Sandipanishwara He Jagadishwara
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Shiva 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 Shivaya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya Namo
Hara 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 Haraya शिव 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 शिवाय नमः ॐ
हर 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 हराय नमः
हर 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 हराय नमः
गंगाधर हर गिरिजाशंकर
गंगाधर हर गिरिजाशंकर
परम पावन वदने वरदे शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् परम पावन वदने वरदे शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् चित्तशुद्धिदञ्चारुचित्रमम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके चित्तशुद्धिदञ्चारुचित्रमम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके सत्यसुन्दर चरिते महिते शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् सत्यसुन्दर चरिते महिते शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शान्ति तन्मृदुकान्ति चिन्दिडुम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके शान्ति तन्मृदुकान्ति चिन्दिडुम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके एकमाता सकल जगतां शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् एकमाता सकल जगतां शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् माधुरी निधे दानवारिधे अम्बिके जगदम्बिके माधुरी निधे दानवारिधे अम्बिके जगदम्बिके अम्बिके जगदम्बिके अम्बिके जगदम्बिके निर्मलाकृते दीनवत्सले शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् निर्मलाकृते दीनवत्सले शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् लोकसेवन निपुणयायिडुम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके लोकसेवन निपुणयायिडुम् अम्बिके जगदम्बिके स्नेहसारमे भव्यतारमे शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् स्नेहसारमे भव्यतारमे शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम् शारदाम्बिके वन्दनम्
ॐ
शिवशक्ति बाला
ओ मुरुगा जय ओ मुरुगा
ॐ मुरुगा जय ॐ मुरुगा
ॐ शरवण भव देवा चन्दा
ॐ शरवण भव देवा कन्दा
शूरसंहारा मायो मरुगा
शूरसंहारा मायो मरुगा
ओ मुरुगा जय ओ मुरुगा
ॐ मुरुगा जय ॐ मुरुगा
वल्ली मनाला देवा चन्दा
वल्ली मणाला देवा कन्दा
वडिवेल मुरुगा तिरुमाल मरुगा
वडिवेल मुरुगा तिरुमाल मरुगा
ओ मुरुगा जय ओ मुरुगा
ॐ मुरुगा जय ॐ मुरुगा
करुणै पुरिवाय देवा कन्दा
करुणै पुरिवाय देवा कन्दा
கடமா குமரா கரியவன் மருகா
கடம்பா குமரா கரியவன் மருகா
ஓ முருகா ஜெய ஓ முருகா
ॐ मुरुगा जय ॐ मुरुगा
हर हरा षण्मुखा शिवशक्ति बाला
हर हरा षण्मुखा शिवशक्ति बाला
ओ मुरुगा जय ओ मुरुगा
ॐ मुरुगा जय ॐ मुरुगा
जय ओ मुरुगा
जय ॐ मुरुगा
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namaskaram. We will conclude the Advent Satsang from Ottawa, Arunachala Ashrama, Nova Scotia, and Sri Ramanachala Mandiram at Ogdensburg, New York, with Devi Suktam. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Aham Rudrebir Vasubhischaram Yahamaditye Ruda Visvadevaihi Aham Mitra Varuno Babibarmyahamindragni Aham Ashvino Bham Aham Somamahanasam Bibarmyaham Dvashtaramudabhushanam Bhagam Aham Dadami Dravinam Havishmade Supravye Ye Yajamanaya Sunvate Aham Rashtri Sangamani Vasunam Sigidushi Pradhama Yajñiyanam Tamma Deva Vyadaduh Purutra Bhuristatram Purya Vesayandim Mayaso Annamadhiyo Vibhasya Diyah Pranidiyayim Shrunot Yuktam Amanta Omanta Ubhakshiyandi Shrudishrudha Shraddhi Vande Vadhami Ahameva Swayamidam Vadhami Jushtam Devebi Rudamanushebhi Yam Kamayedam Tamugram Krinomitam Brahmanam तं ऋषिं तं सुमेधाम् अहं रुद्राय धनुरादनोमि ब्रह्मत्विषे सर्वे हन्तवाऊ अहं जनाय समधं गृणोमि यहं द्यावा पृथिवी आविवेश अहं सुवे पितरमस्य मूर्तन् मम योनिरप्स्वा अन्धः समुद्रे तथो विदिष्टे भुवनानुविश्वोदामून्द्यां वर्ष्मणो बस्पृशामि अहम् एव वाद इव प्रवाम्यारपमाणः भुवनानि विश्वा परो दिवा परयेना पृथिव्यै धावति महिना सम्बभूव ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चन्द्रधारकं निमा विद्युदो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत्